Thank you for tuning in tonight to the Online Missions Conference. I'm excited for you to meet a missionary like we've not had before. This is a missionary whose mother and father were both missionaries, whose grandparents were both missionaries. You do not want to miss a moment of the presentation we're going to see of Brother David Bonikowsky and his work in the Basque Region of Spain. Watch their presentation with me, and when we're done, I'll bring Brother David on and we'll have a time of interview. Thanks for watching tonight.
Hello, we are the Bonikowskys. My name is David, this is Raquel, and this is our little daughter, 5-month-old Lady. And we'll see how much she wants to participate in the video or not. We are missionaries here in Spain, in the Basque Region of Spain. I have been here since 2012. I came as a single missionary, met Raquel in 2015, I believe, and we were married in 2016. And we've been serving together ever since we were married. 2 years ago, in 2018, we started working with the Kaisers at the Renteria Church, getting ready for the transition when they ended up retiring. And as of the last month, they have retired, gone back to the States, and we are now pastoring the church at Renteria, where they have served for so many years. A little bit about us. Like I said, my name is David. I'm a third-generation missionary, I guess, here in Spain. Both sets of grandparents were missionaries in Spain. My paternal grandparents, Al and Helga Bonikowsky, as well as Flay and Margaret Allen, came to Spain when it first opened up to missionaries in the 1960s, 70s. And they served for many, many years here. They have recently retired in the past 5 years. And now they're back in the United States. But they have left behind, in both cases, churches led by Spanish-speaking pastors. My father and mother are still here. Their names are Andy and Mimi Bonikowsky, and they pastor a church in Lazcao, which is about an hour away from where we are. The Kaisers, well, they, along with my grandfather, started the church in Renteria about 25 years ago, and the Lord has been working there. It's really doing a work in the hearts of the members who are going there, and we're excited about what the Lord has for the future. I want to just give my wife a chance to speak, tell a little bit about herself, and then I'm going to record some at the church, talking a little bit more about our ministry. But thank you so much for your time, for listening to the video, and here's my wife.
Hi everyone, I'm Raquel. I'm born in Madrid. My parents are pastors too, but they are in the south area of Valencia, in Spain. And when I met my husband, we decided to come here in the north area of Spain. And since we got here, when I got here, we served first of all in Irún, and after that in 2018 in Renteria. It's about 15 minutes from where we live, so we are excited to see what's God's plans for us and for the church.
All right, well, again, thank you for your time. We'll start recording the church. So this is our church, Iglesia Bautista Bíblica del Puerto. It is in Renteria. The immediate neighborhood that we're serving is about 4,000 homes. And so, let me show you around the church just a little bit. Their entrance, everything's set up for COVID nowadays. Disinfectant rug, hand sanitizer. The seating in our auditorium is, of course, very spaced out now, as per the regulations. 1.5 meters or more between chairs. And we've set up different things for live streaming. The platform is all set up differently now than it used to be. But this auditorium will seat about, I expect, 40 people, Lord willing, one day. This year, for the first time, we're sending a Christmas postcard to each one of the 4,000 homes in our immediate church neighborhood. The postcards are Christmas themed and include the gospel, but they're very short. They're an invitation for people looking for God to find our church, hear about us, find our church, and come visit us. Include contact information, website information, and hopefully they're a first step to meeting people and starting that relationship and getting them to come to church. Our church is in Renteria, city outside the capital city of our province, San Sebastián. The metropolitan area of San Sebastián is about 440,000 inhabitants, and in that entire region there are maybe 2 or 3 gospel preaching churches, but not doctrinally sound, different in belief and practice in areas. Ours is the only independent Baptist church, and one of the very, very few places where people will learn about the gospel and hear about Jesus as our Savior. As far as the future of this ministry, well, I'm recording this video in large part to send to the individuals and churches who have supported the Kaisers for so many years in their ministry in Spain. They have served the Lord for a long time, faithfully. They have built this church and have seen the Lord bring the believers who are here. But they're retiring now, and my wife and I plan to move this ministry forward and see the Lord continue to do amazing things in Renteria. My wife and I are missionaries with Worldwide New Testament Baptist Missions, the same mission board that sent Roy and Luann Kaiser here to Spain. However, our income is about 50% missionary support. The rest comes from what we're able to work here. My wife is a pharmacist, she works in a pharmacy, and I teach English classes, and with that we're able to live and serve here in the Basque region. Our hope and our prayer is that some of you watching this would consider taking us on as missionaries, perhaps for the same amount you were supporting Roy and Luann. We know that many of you have been following and praying for this ministry for many years, and we would love to continue to provide updates, provide prayer requests, and let you continue to be a part of this ministry in Renteria. We are so excited to be here, and we want to invite you to come along with us and see what the Lord does here in the Basque region of Spain. God bless.
Thank you for joining us tonight on the Online Missions Conference. My name is John O'Malley, and my guest tonight, as you just saw his presentation, is Brother David Bonikowsky. Brother David, welcome to Online Missions Conference.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. You know, it's rare that I get to speak to a third-generation missionary, and then at that, to know that you're third generation on 2 sides. So both grandparents, both parents
yes,
of there, and then your parents as well. It's an amazing thing, and I'm thrilled to have you on here. And viewers, as you're watching and you have questions from the presentation or from the conversation that we're having tonight, then I want you to make sure you put those comments or questions in the comment section on the social media platform that you're watching. And if you think about it, why don't you share this video right now if you know someone who might be interested in missions or in Spain, and just share that with them as well. Well, Brother David, how did you know God wanted you serving him in Spain?
As you mentioned, I grew up in Spain. My parents were second-generation missionaries themselves, having grown up in Spain as well. So I grew up in this culture and am probably more familiar with Spanish Basque culture than American culture, at least pretty close. Growing up, my parents, well, I couldn't have asked for better parents. I think that they trained all 4 of us to really pursue the Lord's will above anything else. So as I neared college, went into college, and by the time I graduated, my only real goal was figure out where I can best serve the Lord, where I can best fulfill the Great Commission. And it was quite obvious from the very beginning that I had a lot of preparation for coming back to Spain. By the time I was in college, by the time I was 18, I was very certain that God wanted me back in Spain. There's a tremendous culture gap usually between generations going to the field, which is the nature of the beast in a sense. And by no choice of my own, well, God had me raised in this country and has eliminated so many of the hoops that most missionaries have to go through that I was very certain that's where he wanted me from the beginning. And it's been confirmed, well, time and time again since then.
Well, one of the confirmations clearly has to be Raquel. Tell us the story of how you and Raquel met.
I agree, for sure. Well, I came back to Spain, let me see, when I was 21 or 22 years old. I think it was in 2012, so about 9 years ago. Very much single still at that point. no real prospects, and looking for a wife in a sense, but I wasn't going to delay ministry until I found a wife. At least that was what I didn't think that was what I was supposed to do. So I went back to Spain, and there are mission teams. There are still ways to connect with people in America while I'm in Spain. So I always assumed, I guess, that I would marry an American. I wasn't, didn't have any doors closed in that sense, but kind of my baseline assumption. But while I was younger, I was basically youth pastor in the church where I served. And I did a lot of taking people to camps, being counselor, or basically sponsor, I guess it would be called, with my group of young people going to camps. And in 2015, I believe, I met Raquel, my wife now. She was essentially doing the same thing from her church. Her father is Spanish, and he's the pastor of a church near Valencia. And she was going with the young people from her church, kind of as the older sponsor as well, in a sense. So we met. We were friendly with each other. We were near the same age, and we got along well. Exchanged numbers and talked, I guess, fairly platonically for a number of months. And well, I get, long story short, I got invited to her father's church. That's what happened. Her parents were, I guess, they knew about me before I knew about Raquel, and they were already fairly happy with trying to arrange the match, in a sense. So anyway, her father invited me to come and preach at an evangelistic conference at her church. And I was like, oh, sure. Raquel was not living with her parents at the time. She lived in Mallorca, which is one of the islands off the coast of Spain. But she, of course, came while I was there for the evangelistic conference, and we spent more time together. It wasn't much longer after that until we decided, hey, we're going to pursue or look towards marriage and see if the Lord doesn't, dramatically change the direction we're headed. We were both 27, 28, maybe 29 at that point. So, not really young people, blundering about seeing what happens. We were both pretty eyes open, looking for marriage, if that was the Lord's will. And it ended up going very quickly after that. We fell in love. We ended up getting married at her church. Both her father and my father were there presiding over the wedding, and I guess the rest is history. She has gone through a fairly big culture gap herself, moving from Valencia in southern Spain to the Basque country, where they don't even really consider themselves Spanish. So she's very much a missionary here as well. But it's definitely a huge, like, if I was connected to the culture before, I'm much more connected now having a Spanish wife.
Sure.
My Spanish has improved a lot. It's definitely no comparison, and it's, like you say, very obviously the Lord's will that all of this happened the way it has.
Sure. David, one of the things I was thinking about asking you tonight, and now as you brought it up, I want to speak to not politics, but culture. How can two countries have two distinct cultures? Can you briefly summarize for us? Some people may not even realize Basque. What is that? It's Basque, Basque, and it's a region in Spain. Give a short history or lesson or something to help people understand, not just North and South, because I have a lot of Americans who watch, and as they watch, they'll say, well, that would be someone from the cultural Northeast of America versus the cultural Dixie South. And they'll say, okay, that's it. But this is different. Help us, David.
Okay. Well, there's American history is quite short in comparison to Spanish history, I guess.
True.
So it goes back quite a ways. But there's a very clearly different ethnic group of people in what's called the Basque region. The Basque region is mostly in Spain, but there are two provinces in the southern part of France, all connected here, which is also considered Basque country. of course, even though it's in technically in the country of France. The people here they're physically a little bit different, although there's a lot more intermingling. Like the difference isn't quite as dramatic as it used to be, but just visually a different race in a sense. They have their own language. The Basque language is much older than the Spanish language. The Spanish language comes out of Latin, and it's a mix of, it's developed relatively recently in history. The Basque language itself has no connection with Spanish except, I guess, modern words. That words that came into that were invented in the last couple of centuries. As far American is not a culture in and of itself. It's mixed. America is made up of so many different cultures that it's a very, very new concept. But Basque and Spanish, they go way back, and they are really not connected more than that they share a border in a sense. As far as differences, there's the biggest cultural differences, or at least the most important differences for us, would be religious, at least the way, and this is generalization, right? But in most of Spain, when you go out of the Basque Country down to the south, the further south you go, the more conservative, and use the word conservative here, like tending toward Catholic. Just to get our terms defined, right? But they are Catholic the further south you go. There are some parallels, like the way America and the way it works in North and South America as well. Sure. But further south you go, the more people are invested in the Catholic Church. They go to Mass. They are conservative in ethical values as well, or more conservative. You take the same topics, abortion, homosexuality, all those things, they go along with that conservative Catholic, which it's funny to lump those together. Right. But that is all depicts southern Spain, and the north would be the other extreme. Where we are is very progressive. They are much more like the rest of Europe, politically and morally. Much more open to the progressive issues, much more atheistic than the rest of Spain. The vast majority here would be considered atheist or agnostic. There are still Catholic churches, and there's still definitely connections to the Catholic Church. But the biggest difference would be that they are post-religion, in a sense. That's the way they see themselves. So very few people interested in God. You go down deep, and they have the same fear of death, and they have the fear of the unknown that everyone faces. But definitely on the surface, much more, progressive and atheistic, I guess.
That's fascinating.
You go into food, or you go into all kinds of other different ways the culture is different, right? But I think that's the important part.
Our angle is the gospel, and so that's the best one to have drawn our attention to that. And I hope it's informative. And viewers, as you're watching, throw your comments in there to Brother David about the Basque region if you'd like. And I know as God gives him time to do so, he'll respond and give you a better insight as well. Brother David, when you look at your ministry and the challenges you face, what keeps you pressing forward?
I really love the people I'm serving here, I guess. Maybe it's cliche to say whatever, but I really don't have anything like pulling me away from the ministry, in a sense. I am fully confident this is exactly where the Lord wants me. I'm not going to say that I'm doing everything exactly the way the Lord wants. That's what I'm trying to do, right? But I have no, I guess a lot of missionaries come and they kind of have a lot of their heart back in the country that they left, which is totally normal, right? And a lot of family back there and everything. That's not really the case for me. So I love the place where I serve, and there aren't really any things pulling me away from that that I could really recount. I'm not a particularly tend toward depression type of believer, and I don't mean that in any sense like as a to talk. I don't mean it in any way as disrespectful, right? But I am by nature kind of a slow plodding forward kind of just stick with the task kind of person. That's kind of my personality, I suppose. Since I married a Spaniard, I will most likely live here very happily the rest of my life, retire here. If my long-term goal is to leave the church in hands of a native pastor and theoretically retire. I don't know what the Lord will have or anything like that, right? But the day I retire, I'll probably live here or in another part of Spain, because this is essentially my life. Like not really anywhere to run to. Amen. I don't see myself any more American than Spanish, really, or Basque.
Well,
I don't know if that answers the question.
It does, absolutely. When it comes to the calling of God, it's the idea of faithfulness and just being where he put you and serving the Lord. And you've done that quite well. When you look back to what I might call from your first day until now, but your first day was really ground zero in Spain, and you've grown up there. But what tasks do you want to see complete? You hinted at one about having someone, perhaps a Basque, to take the church there. But what's on the horizon for you from God for this mission that you're working?
I'm 100% focused right now on the church where we're serving. I mentioned a little bit in the video, which I think people have seen at this point. Yes. We have been in the church where we are now for 2 years. It was started by another missionary who has retired, and we have taken over that work. But it's a very small ministry at this point, about 5 or 6 believers on a Sunday, and of course all the numbers are out of whack because of COVID. Sure. But really, that's my only focus at this point. Invest in the lives of the believers who are there and try to give the gospel to new people and see the church grow. Upcoming, 2 of the believers in church want to get baptized, and I'm working on going through discipleship with them, baptizing them, and just helping them, I guess, just what the Great Commission says, right? Go into the world and preach the gospel and baptize believers. Prepare them for leadership in the church or servantship in the church, whatever God has for them, right? We would love to, as far as a goal, we would love to find a house and live in the church neighborhood or close to the church neighborhood. We live about 10, 15 minutes away in a different city, and we can get to church quickly enough. It's not so far away as to be a hindrance, but my goal would be one day to have both me, my wife, and my kids, Lord willing, more integrated in the neighborhood of the church itself, which right now it's simply not an option economically. We can't afford really to move anywhere else. Long term, I want to, have kids in school nearby or in extracurricular activities nearby, be meeting parents and people our age who are near the church. So basically more integration in the local area that we're serving. Those would be my big goals. Nothing else really comes to mind other than those things. I'm focused on the church.
Absolutely, and that is vital. Brother David, I'll have a lot of viewers watching tonight. They're looking at this and they're seeing you. You're a young man. You're nearer their age than I am, perhaps. And you look at what you have been called to do, and they're watching you and they're thinking, I didn't grow up in Spain. What could I do for God? Or I didn't get to go here as a kid, or I didn't do that. But there's something that they're considering about the will of God. Would you consider making a direct appeal to those who might be evaluating God's will for their life and give them a word of encouragement?
Absolutely. If you are looking for advice, pursue God, pursue your relationship with God, and He will make that very clear to you in time, right? What he wants from us, and I think everyone who calls himself a believer should be asking themselves, what is my role in the Great Commission? What am I supposed to be doing right now? It's not like a light switch. Some people get called and other people don't. Your question isn't really, should I be serving the Lord in the Great Commission? It's where should I be serving the Lord, right, and how should I be serving the Lord? So absolutely. God, as you serve in the place where you are, God will open up doors for you to potentially move somewhere else. You know, if he wants you overseas, then he will open up doors and direct you overseas. The essential thing is that you're in a church somewhere and you're serving wholeheartedly in that church. If you don't know what to do, talk with your pastor, I suppose. He can probably give you some. There is ministry to be done everywhere, as far as I can tell. So if you're not busy, get busy. And if you're busy asking the Lord, should I be busy somewhere else? Well, keep doing what you are, pray about it, and I believe he will make that abundantly clear to you.
Amen. Well, Brother David,
and if you,
I'm sorry,
if you would love to come to Spain and see the ministry here, well, we need people. There are surrounding in my city, there is a church. There's a gospel preaching solid church. This is where I was serving for 5-6 years up until we started in Renteria. There are a dozen towns and cities I can't think well in miles, but I guess in a 30-mile radius of where we are. And there's only really 2 other Bible preaching solid churches. So there's many towns and cities that don't have a single church, which that's a bad thing, right? We need more churches. We need more missionaries, and we need more churches here. So, amen. Definitely a lot to be done in this part of the world.
Well, there's your Macedonian call, viewer. Brother David said, come over to Spain in the Basque region and help us. Brother David, thank you for the time tonight to share your heart, your passion, and your vision. And it's been a delight to have you this evening.
Absolutely. My privilege. Thank you so much. And like Brother said, I'll definitely check through the comments, right? But you'll find a link to me somewhere to connect, and I would love to tell you more.
Absolutely. And if you find Bonikowsky, well, sure. And if you find Bonikowsky in Spain and Basque region, it's likely you found him, his father, or his grandfather. So we'll get in touch for sure. Well, viewers, again, thank you for watching tonight. I want you to join me next week for the Online Missions Conference, as we have an opportunity every Thursday night, 7 p.m., to see what God is doing around the world. You can find other videos at this web address, WWNTBM.com/videos, to go back and watch any of the videos that we've done in the past. Until next week, may God bless you.